Alrighty, I've got some round one matches still to cast here that I don't know, they were sent to me a while ago and I've either overlooked them or I haven't got around to them or something like that. Anyway, this is one of them. This is Ollie versus Aziz, and this is the second time that these guys have played, I believe. And look, we're back to the normal kind of layout. I don't know why, following the recent patch, it looks like StarCraft hasn't remembered my sort of observer and replay preferences. Anyway, here we've got Ollie as the Protoss sending out a worker pretty early on. Has dropped the pylon though, so I don't think this is a worker that's out to get up to no good. I think this is just a scout. Azizzle going for the more going for the very traditional depot at the top of the ramp there. Has got gas in production, and to be honest, that's not unusual. One of a fairly common build for Terran is to throw down the depot while it's building, throw down the gas, and then normally the racks would go here to try and block that ramp off against stuff coming in. But you build the barracks, and with the early gas, it means that you are in fact able to get a Reaper out as soon as your barracks finishes. Now, it looks to me like Ollie is up to no good. In his men, there are no sort of buildings, only pylons. So I'm not sure what he's hoping to achieve with this, because he can't actually do a cannon rush or anything. So maybe he's trying to fake out his opponent in the hope that Azizzle will overreact to this. But if you want to make it look like you're cannon rushing, you do need to keep this worker alive. I mean, if it just dies now, then that's the end of this. Does cause Azizzle to pull 4 workers to chase that out, but with no forge at home, there's no way he can drop a cannon or anything, and there's a long time before he can warp in units. So Ollie does have gas, but nothing mining in it just yet. It looks like Azizzle's just going to leave one worker having a go at that pylon, and I like that. There's no need to overreact to this. In fact, I'd send those other workers back to mining. I wouldn't worry about that pylon. You're about to have a complete wall here. If there's no workers coming in, it's way too early for him to be able to warp stuff in. If there's no worker here, he can't be building pylons. So I would just wait until I've got a marine or whatever. I wouldn't worry about that pylon at all. More important that your SCVs are back to work. The fact that these 4 SCVs haven't been mining for such a long time, it's actually cost Azizzle more minerals in lost mining time than the pylon cost. So a reasonably good exchange in these early stages for Ollie. Now, what am I seeing here? I'm not really sure what all these pylons are about. It's just building pylons everywhere. I don't understand. I don't know what this means. I really don't know what to make of this. Queued up as well. Maybe he just thought, I've got loads of money, why don't I just build pylons everywhere? This is not something that you see in StarCraft, and there's a reason for that. It's just a waste of money. Look, supply-wise, you're 20 out of 55, 63. Yeah, there's just no need for that. I mean, what you do definitely need is a side core, because you don't have one. You need to be building workers. You need maybe another gateway, or possibly 2. Maybe you need some more gas going down there as well. What you don't need is so many pylons, especially spread out in such a bizarre way. It just makes them easy to pick off. Anyway, Azizzle is also not holding back with making sure he's not going to get supply blocked. A lot of depots there, completely scaling off this ramp, and he's building a missile turret. Unusual position for a missile turret, and I don't think I agree with it. Generally, it's here that you want a missile turret, or even right in the middle of your mineral line is quite good. Just smack it down here, because missile turrets are great defense against air, against flying units. If your opponent's got a flying unit and they're going to come into your base, what they want to do is come in and kill workers. They want to send an oracle in to take these guys out. So this is where you need that protection. If you turn up with a flying unit and there's 2 turrets here, well, you're just going to go around it. So yeah, not sure about the positioning on those. What they might be useful for, I suppose, if DTs try and run into your base or something, these will definitely detect them at the front door. But you know, to be honest, if I'm Protoss going DT, I've got a warp prism to drop them out of anyway. I would always assume that the Terran will be well walled in and I won't be able to get the DTs in. As a Terran, you've always got scans for detection anyway. So, yeah. Anywho, stuff is in production. The production tab looks healthy. If we have a quick look at what's happening here, we can see that there's a substantial worker advantage actually for our Protoss player, and that does translate into a reasonable income advantage as well. And that's because this expand was up really, really early. Now, Azizzle has not done any sort of scouting whatsoever, and so won't be aware of that. And that's a real shame because, you know, he had a very early on, he would have had an army advantage because actually Ollie didn't really have any production structures whatsoever for a long time in this game. Now that he does, he's building everything. You know, he's got these upgrades queued up, and there's zealots coming out, zealots, stalkers queued up. You know, so very quickly the army supplies are going to level out, and with the income advantage, you would expect the Protoss to overtake the Terran reasonably quickly. So the scan, where is the scan? Scan goes down in the main base and doesn't really see anything very revealing. If you drop a scan 6 minutes in, you know, having a forge, it's like, yeah, sure, okay. You've got a forge, you're upgrading something, that's all right. You only see this and this, so no tech structures sighted whatsoever. You don't really get a clue about what your opponent's doing. Had the scan revealed this building, if you see this, you know, normally as Protoss, you kind of have a choice in the early game. You always build a gateway, you always build a side core because you need those before you can build anything else. So in general, it's once those buildings are finished that you make a choice. What are you going to go for next? And it's either going to be air, Stargate, or robotics facility. So you're going to go Colossus, Immortals, that type of thing. Or it's going to be gateway units, in which case you want upgrades for those gateway units. And that's when you'd have that Twilight console that enables blink from the Stalkers. It enables charge from the Zealots. That is not the way you want to use Reapers, really. Reapers, as you can see, fantastic units in terms of they're fast and they heal themselves, and they're able to get into your opponent's base up this ledge as well. So what you want to achieve with those Reapers, what you want to be able to do is have a look around. They're very fast, so you can run in here, you can get a good look around, you can check things like, you know, the saturation on the natural. Is it fully saturated? If it is, your opponent probably had their natural up and mining before you had yours, so they've probably got an income advantage over you. The other things you might want to do, 2 Reapers will kill workers reasonably well, so you might want to just focus on some workers if you can, but generally you want to keep the Reapers alive. There is literally no point in working on this. Look how much health this has got. It's got 500 shields, 500 health. You know, these 2 Reapers will take day and all night to kill that thing. You know, look, that's the damage they've done, and look how quickly it's just going to heal back up. So that achieves nothing. Use those Reapers to get in and have a look around. As Protoss, you want to prevent the Reapers from getting in and having a look around. So, you know, I wouldn't mind having a Stalker on patrol here or something. A Stalker will be a Reaper, and the Reaper just has to run from that. So, in Terran land, actually, production has slowed significantly, and I'm not sure why. There's a lot of money in the bank, there's plenty of supply. So, you know, I'd like to see some more stuff being built. And just as I said, another Rax comes down, so that's good. I'd like to see some stuff coming out of this. You know, if you are going for a marine heavy army, you want siege tanks to back it up pretty much always, and you want medevacs to back that up as well. And there's no sign up, just as I said. So there's the starport, and this is good. This, you notice, has the 1-1 upgrades are done before you can get 2-2 upgrades. You need to build an armory as well. But yeah, not much worker production happening here. You know, we're building workers one at a time out of here. This base not actually fully saturated, and no workers being built from this command center. Not that money is an issue at present. You know, so the Reapers come back in, they do some damage to a pylon, and off they go. Yeah, this queue concerns me a little bit. You know, Ollie, I'm not sure Why would you build a shield battery there to keep this pylon alive? Just build another pylon. Yeah, this queue concerns me a bit. If air is your plan, then build more than one Stargate. You know, a Stargate costs much less than a carrier. Let's just check. Look at the price of a carrier: 350, 250. You know, if we look at the price of a Stargate, 150, 150. So, you know, instead of having that stuff queued up, just build a couple more Stargates and build these things several at a time and have them out sooner. A bit of oversaturation on the gas there needs to pull some of those workers back out. It looks like, in terms of army supply, the Protoss has indeed sort of leapfrogged the Terran. This is such a, you know, I suppose he's sort of spreading pylons like creep. He's got them all over the map. So on the plus side, he's going to know if the Terran army moves out at all. If we look at the upgrades on these, we've got 1-1. The Terran is also 1-1. So this Protoss army is robust. There's no two ways about that. Has got the charge upgrade, has got the blink upgrade. The saving grace for the Terran here is this wall and this siege tank behind it. So these charge slots are not really going to get a lot done. He could really do with pulling these Marines back, because actually, you know, these charge slots are just taking a piss and coming through this gap. Don't go out there though. Don't go out there with the Marines. Look, all these Marines not shooting, coming through a choke here. Just pull back. Let the Protoss come to you. You know, because actually you're taking a really efficient trade. This siege tank doing splash damage in the back is just putting so much hurt on that Protoss army, and it all dies. You know, so I don't know. You could have done that even more efficiently, as it was. Incredibly efficient trade. 49 units killed to 35. But if we look at the resources lost tab, the Protoss has literally lost twice as much value in army as the Terran there. So that was kind of painful to watch. Trying to push in through a choke against siege tanks is always absolutely horrific. It's, you know, siege tanks have a long range, they do splash damage. It is an ugly, ugly thing. Now, with all of that said, with a bit of micro, that might have been a manageable assault, but actually there's so many missile turrets lined up here that would really put the carriers off, you know, because what you'd like to do is use the air to snipe this siege tank, but very, very difficult to do with this many turrets. Other options would have been, I mean, it would have been costly, but given that the Protoss army did have the number advantage, you could have come up the ramp with the Zealots and just blinked the Stalkers on top of all of this, focused on the siege tank, and then hope for the best. But the problem you had, of course, was that it was going to take such a long time for your Zealots to get through the wall of supply depots. So the Terran holds very successfully. There's a fusion core in production, together with a tech lab that will allow the production of battle cruisers and those types of things, and also allows you some of the higher upgrades that come out of the tech lab as well. Mothership out for the Protoss, but you know, army supply is down. I'm a little surprised that Aziz didn't press the advantage there. You know, yeah, he lost some units, but most of his army was still intact, and he did decimate the Protoss army. What he is desperately lacking at this stage is medevacs, though. These, you know, hurt Marines just have so much more value if you have medevacs above them. It just brings them all back to life, and we are happy people. So does need to sort that out. You know, he's got these 2 starports sitting idle, and does need more siege tanks. You know, this siege tank was the hero. I know it's only got 6 kills, and you might think, well, actually, you know, there was loads of units, and 6 isn't that big a number. But it's not really about the kills that it's responsible for. It's about that splash damage that it's doing. It's just stripping shields and stripping health off everything in that Protoss army, which means that the Marines can then kill it. So, you know, even though 6 kills doesn't seem like a lot, trust me on this, that siege tank was a major contributor in that fight. This is such a tough defensive position. You know, there's turrets everywhere. There is this planetary fortress, so even if the Protoss breaks through, it's in trouble. The mothership does cloak the units underneath it, but of course these turrets are detectors, so that's not working. This siege tank again just putting hurt on stuff. you know, if I'm the Protoss, why try and break that? That's painful. You know, build your flying units and just come in around the back here and just gut the production of the Terran. You know, you don't need to bust this. If I'm the Terran, why move out? That's a mistake. I mean, this Protoss army isn't as big as the Terran army. Well, it doesn't look like it is. Surely he's got stuff at home, has he? No, maybe not. Maybe it's stuff in transit. Maybe he's got more there than I think. Does decide to recall from the mothership back on top of itself. Not sure what that was about. But yeah, so he has broken a hole here. But you know, as I said, like, you've still got this planetary fortress. There's still this siege tank pounding away. I don't really know if he's got enough still. I mean, the Terran has got reasonable production, but actually isn't building from a lot of these. You know, as you need to build stuff. What's the point in having bunkers if your units don't get in them? So put the Marines in the bunker. It means the Marines, A, don't die, but more than that, it gives them additional range as well. You do need the SCVs to repair this, because otherwise this planetary will eventually go down. I mean, it is putting a lot of hurt on these zealots, but eventually it's going to fall. It cannot shoot up, and actually we're seeing the end of it now, so there's no repair. It looks like the Protoss is going to just have enough to muscle through here and actually end the game, which is interesting, because arguably that should have been a reasonably easy hold for the Terran. Yeah, you know, again, wait for the Protoss to come to you rather than pushing out to fight it. Force the Protoss through the choke. Have your units in the bunkers, have SCVs repairing, so that they're repairing the bunkers, repairing the siege tanks, repairing the turrets as well, and that's probably an easy hold. But as it is, it's not going to be held. Medevacs as well just would have made such a massive difference. Liberators aren't so useful against this, but Vikings certainly are, and so Vikings in production is great, but you know, popping out one at a time, it's not going to be enough to see this off. And even if you do, you've got no income anymore. You've lost the natural, you've lost a lot of production. This is very much the GG. So yeah, an interesting game. Some reasonable play on both sides. You know, both players expanding up, attacking up. But one of the things you need to look out for is just keeping your finger on that production. You know, as the game progresses and you have more production structures, make sure you've got them hotkeyed. Make sure that as you build additional barracks, you add them to the same hotkey as your first barracks. You know, so that you can spend these mineral banks, so that you can spend that money and turn it into units. You just literally the whole way through a game of StarCraft, you want an Lancer voice pestering you that you don't have enough minerals, that you don't have enough gas. That's, you know, that's what happens when you're playing well. You're just constantly being told you don't have enough minerals and you don't have enough gas. So yeah, and the key to that is just you never take your finger off the production. You never sort of sit back and go, I think I've got enough units now. No, you're always building, always teching something. You're always upgrading, always, even if you hit 200 supply and you think I can't build any more units, well then you're getting the upgrades, you're building additional production structures so that when you lose some of your army, you can replace it quickly. Anywho, GG.